Firstly, I just wanted to say a huge welcome and good morning. Thank you for joining us for our first ever Wakefield Ambassador event. It's great to see so many representatives from Wakefield businesses and organisations joining us this morning. For those of you I haven't met before, I'm Lucy Mcdonald. I'm the Place Manager for Wakefield, sitting within the team at Wakefield Council. It's my role to work with our Place Board to deliver an effective place plan for Wakefield, which helps us realise our ambition to make Wakefield a district where people thrive, businesses succeed, and visitors are welcome. Today's event is being recorded and it will be distributed following the event shortly. So to begin, we know that places aren't changed by slogans or empty gestures, and this ambassador programme, like the wider activity, is about bringing like-minded people together with a joint vision to initiate cultural change and to greatly improve our social, economic and environmental prospects as a district here in Wakefield. So to start us off, I'd like to introduce Councillor Darren Byford.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd just like to say a huge welcome and thank you for joining us at this first ever Wakefield Ambassador Programme event. I'm Councillor Darren Byford and I'm the portfolio holder for economic growth. But I'm also a proud resident of Wakefield District. In fact, I grew up here. And I truly believe there is so much untapped potential within our district that will, in future, allow Wakefield to thrive and thrive very well. We're fortunate to already have many individuals and companies who are great ambassadors for the Wakefield District. And that's why we are all here today. We're here because we are passionate about the Wakefield District. We want to promote the place, we want to speak up for the district, and we want to be part of taking this area, our district forward. And what we need to do is make sure that Wakefield District is heard, and heard loudly amongst the noises of the places nationally and internationally, especially now as we look beyond the COVID pandemic, and we begin to rebuild our sustainable economy. Growing a prosperous district and attracting more and better jobs for Wakefield residents is essential to our place activity. And by working collaboratively, we will make Wakefield District a destination of choice for companies, investors and visitors alike. The Wakefield Ambassador Programme gives you, our ambassadors on the ground, the opportunity to learn about the developments of our place and all the exciting news to share with your networks, but also to build relationships that will benefit your business and our district. Hopefully, one day in the not too distant future, these events will be in person. Now, there could be a novelty. And we will build on those connections that will help businesses grow and our people succeed. So what does being a Wakefield Ambassador really mean? Well, it means that you will bang the drum. You will bang the drum for Wakefield. You will share what you hear today and in the future sessions with your networks. You'll celebrate the district and you will become a voice for the place that we all know and love. I could spend all day listing the things that what makes Wakefield District great and inspire me. For example, did you know that we are the only place outside of London to have had 2 Art Fund Museums of the Year? Did you know that it's estimated that there is 350,000 people that call Wakefield District home? Or did you know that there are 16 local nature reserves across the district? Now that's the highest number of nature reserves in any West Yorkshire authority. And I could go on because there's lots more things like that to share. But that's exactly what these sessions are about. These are what the supporting activities are about. Meeting regularly to give you that information and encouraging you, the ambassadors, to share these wonderful stories across your networks and with your people. Talking of which, I'm sure that many of you have got those wonderful things called smartphones and tablets in your hands at the moment. Please show your support for today's event by tweeting and messaging and storying with the hashtag #OneWakefield, a hashtag which will represent the coming together of all of us to give us a voice, a very powerful voice for the Wakefield District. So on that note, I'm going to hand back to Wakefield Council's Place Manager, Lucy, who is going to talk about the journey so far. And it's a journey that we've come quite a distance on. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Darren. Just bear with me 1 second. Thank you, Darren. So I wanted to take this opportunity to give you a bit more of a background on the place work and where it all began. We've already been on a very exciting journey, as Darren has touched on, and now it's time to share that journey with you. It's been a journey which all those involved truly believe is just the start of making Wakefield a destination of choice and enabling even more passion and us to become more proud of the extraordinary place many of us call home or somewhere to work. Whilst it has been said for many places, the idea that the reality of the place is way bigger than its perceptions is never truer than it is for Wakefield now. There was a consensus amongst businesses, organisations and Wakefield residents that Wakefield was punching well below its weight. These people knew that the district had much to offer and that the reality of the place was way better than its image. They believed that the district's strengths and characters were not being recognised outside of our district boundary, even amongst some of our closest neighbours. There was a passion for the district and its heritage, but it was felt that a collective sense of place for the entire Wakefield district was lacking. Wakefield needed a place-led marketing approach and a team of ambassadors to shout about it. We need to come together with a shared sense of ambition to make sure Wakefield district becomes even better known, especially to visitors, businesses and investors. It started with in-depth research and stakeholder engagement, carried out in partnership with place experts Thinking Place and people who cared deeply about the area. We asked questions, we delved into the district's rich heritage as well as its current states. We explored our strengths as well as our challenges. We consulted, we talked, and we began to find themes and ideas. And it was a process that many of you here today will have been involved with along the way. That foundations piece of work has now evolved. It's become a narrative and a visual identity for Wakefield, a plan and aims. And I just want to talk you through those aims. So our aims are to promote Wakefield Place nationally and internationally to investors and businesses to increase investment into the district, creating employment in target sectors for Wakefield residents. We wanted to promote Wakefield district as an excellent visitor destination, showcasing our key cultural assets, increasing our visitor numbers, whilst retaining and creating jobs in the retail, leisure and hospitality sectors. And we wanted to encourage residents and businesses to feel pride in the district, to proactively share positive news with their friends, families, their business contacts, to showcase Wakefield as a destination where people and businesses are welcome. As I said, we also have a plan of activity, including things like this, the launch of our Wakefield Ambassador Programme, and some other activities which you'll hear more about today. We've also seen the establishment of the Wakefield Place Board. That's a board of public and private sector leadership who are guardians of the Wakefield story and champion Wakefield district nationally and beyond. Our activity aims to get as many people as possible behind our place, telling and selling the assets of our district we feel so passionately about. And like Darren said, these ambassador sessions aim to support you, our ambassadors, do just that, to allow you to become custodians of the Wakefield story and provide you with the tools and the information you need to champion our district. We aim to host events like this, giving you the opportunity to have information at your fingertips, supported by social media channels. If you search for Wakefield Ambassador on LinkedIn or Twitter, you should find us there, and those channels will launch following this session this morning. These are also channels for you to engage with. Tell us your good news, tell us your stories, and we'll share that news with our network. Now, I've mentioned the words narrative and story a couple of times now, so let me talk a bit more about that and what makes up our Wakefield story. To cement Wakefield's place on the map, we needed a simple but effective story which showcased every corner of our district and what we're all about. What is in our DNA that makes Wakefield different? And our story articulates just that. It represents what needs to be focused on for Wakefield to prosper in the future, but without forgetting our heritage. It's a story that every organisation can tell and every organisation can identify with, and see the role that they play in making Wakefield the place it is today and the place it will be in the future. The Wakefield story combines elements that are already important in our place, but alongside potentially lesser known elements that make up the Wakefield experience. These aren't slogans, instead they are chapters of our story, and they carry the key messages for the place, those key messages that will change perceptions for Wakefield now and in the future. Our first theme, capitalising on your connections. Located at the heart of the UK with unrivaled road and rail connections, Wakefield District is an accessible gateway to Yorkshire and beyond. Our transport connections make getting here, manufacturing here, or studying here easy. We're a short hop to the M1, M62 and A1M, as well as just over 2 hours by train to London and within easy reach of international airports. Our connectivity really is, as I say, unrivaled. Our second theme is valuing visitor variety. Wakefield is a great place to live and visit. With beautiful Yorkshire countryside and vibrant urban centres, we have a fantastic quality of life. There are a tremendous range of places to live, including city centre apartments, new build homes and attractive villages, and a tremendous range of attractions, from family fun at Escape to exploring underground at the National Coal Mining Museum for England. Wakefield has all the key ingredients of a fantastic visitor destination, with stories spanning from Haribo calling the district home to historic castles standing proud, from rugby league games at a Super League level to unique and quirky events like the Rhubarb Festival. You'd never be bored with Wakefield and what the district has to offer, whether you are here for a day, a week, or forever. And this is a theme you'll hear more about later on in the presentation when you hear from Sam Scarpa. Our third theme is European City of Sculpture, an aspirational goal from the place. Wakefield has an internationally regarded sculptural and creative pedigree, unmatched anywhere in Europe, being the birthplace to both Dame Barbara Hepworth and Henry Moore. This creative gene runs through our DNA, its people and its businesses, alive today in our growing creative sector and the stunning Yorkshire Sculpture Park and the Hepworth Wakefield Gallery. It's a truly aspirational goal that many districts couldn't dream of. Through this creative gene and maximising opportunities from the district's heritage in mining, sculpture and beyond, Wakefield is focused on inspiring the next generation, building on our cultural backdrop and using this creative spark to provide new opportunities for businesses and residents across the Wakefield district. We intend to grow a new generation of Wakefield heroes who will follow in the footsteps of Moore and Hepworth. And the big idea, dare to be different. This ties all those themes together. Wakefield has always thrived on its independent, creative and quirky streak, and this will continue to define us. Wakefield will be a collaborative and purposeful city and district. We're a city of curiosity, culture and creativity, and we do things the Wakefield way. So those are the chapters of the Wakefield story. The messages you'll see across activity will stem from those, our place. Through those slides, you will have seen the Wakefield Place brand. This is a visual identity for Wakefield, something to put Wakefield on the map. It's a brand which reflects our story and is a driver for future communications. This isn't a council brand, but it is a brand for Wakefield District, one that hopefully you'll have already started to see and you'll continue to see more of. We encourage ambassadors to make the most of this branding. It's highly adaptable and it sits alongside your own branding. It doesn't need to take that over. When talking about Wakefield Place, embrace this branding and we have the assets available ready to share. If you look closely at our brand detail, you'll see sculptural shapes, licorice-like textures and colours reflective of Haribo sweets, green landscapes and industry. A vibrant look and feel to represent Wakefield locally, nationally and internationally. Through harnessing these themes, our brand and working together, we can make Wakefield District today and for the generations to come, a place that people are proud of, whether it be to live, to work, to visit, to study, or to invest. So now you know a little bit more about the place ambition and how we aim to change those perceptions of Wakefield District, our story and what it means to be a Wakefield ambassador. Let's hear about some of the activities shaping Wakefield's future right now. We know that place shaping isn't just about marketing activity, it's about projects and developments that will shape our projects and our place. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce Nick Keynes, co-founder of Tallyard.
Right, so I mean, I guess I should never make the assumption that everyone knows what Tileyard North is. Is there anyone that hasn't heard about the project, which we're obviously very excited about? It's in the old Rutland Mills site, right next door to the Hepworth Gallery. Hopefully, if you don't know about it anyway, I will enlighten you and give you a bit of a feel for what it is we're hoping to achieve on the site. But fundamentally, Tallyard, we have a London location in King's Cross. We actually, it's our 10th birthday this week, which is quite hard to believe in some respects. We started building our creative community. Yeah, May 2011, we opened 10 music studios, which were built for 10 separate autonomous clients, a couple of composers, 2 producers, an artist, and a music pop writer. We've now, in the 10 years, we've grown to over 130 music studios, all in one location on one site, and probably even more excitingly, 200 creative businesses, of which probably two thirds to 3/4 of those are music, in the music sector, whether they be music companies or businesses in and around music. We also have TV and film industry representatives, gaming. We have a really exciting emerging beer brand, so we make beer on site. We have an education business, so we've basically created what we hope is a successful and thriving creative community. And it became quite clear a few years ago that the world is a big place. The UK is a big place. Why should we only have one, and it should only be restricted to those in and around London? So we started thinking, well, where else could we build another Tallyard? And it was an obvious choice. Wakefield jumped out at us. It was the obvious location for a Tileyard North. I slightly joke. It was one of those serendipitous moments where Paul, who owns Tallyard, who's my business partner, was invited to an exhibition at the Hepworth Gallery. Came up on the train one Sunday morning. Had this fantastic experience in the Hepworth, and whilst peering out the window, saw these amazing old, slightly dilapidated mill buildings. And to cut a very long story short, he ended up buying them. My job is going to be to hopefully fill them with interesting people and businesses and create the community. What I'll do, I'll start with sort of going through the slides. This opening slide is basically a CGI of what we think and hope the site might look like once it's open. We're scheduled to open phase 1 in January. And the idea is that we want to populate the site with creative people. And we've got this amazing courtyard area that could be the perfect space for events and pop-up food markets, beer festivals, gigs, art exhibitions. You name it. We're sort of dreaming about it, and hopefully this is going to become a very significant destination and location that we hope and feel and believe will really complement what the Hepworth is already offering. Right, let's go on to slide 2. Let's have a look. Right, I don't know if any of you are aware of this site. It's this stunning old textiles mill that you can see from these pictures. It has been in desperate need of some love and an investment. I think it's probably testament to the fact that it's been sat in this state for the best part of 30 years now, I believe. And they are stunning buildings and wonderful buildings, but they're not the easiest buildings to restore and to renovate. But we're doing it, and we're really excited about it. And I think as I whisk through the presentation, you'll see hopefully what you all agree is quite exciting progress. So that was fundamentally a snapshot probably of what they looked like 18 months, 2 years ago. There's the next one. So this is a bit more of I think what dominated the sort of the narrative when we first started was leaking roofs, pigeons, and sort of buildings that were falling down, and you can sort of see evidence of that in these pics. So yeah, it's quite a task, but one that we've dived into with nothing but positivity. So this is another sort of an aerial shot of from one of the buildings of the location. You can see as we're starting to clear the site, you can see the cooler in the background. Yeah, so we're really excited about the location. The fact we have this wonderful sort of location with the river literally running alongside the site. We feel is going to really give us an opportunity to build something quite special. Here's some aerial views. So Lucy very kindly managed to connect with a local drone operator who flew a drone over the site for half a day to a day and took loads of stunning photo aerial shots. This wasn't that long ago, at the beginning of the year, I believe. And you can sort of see the scope of the plan, really, of the project. You got the big building. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we're using the old building names at the moment. This building 6 right on the river is going to be part of our second phase, but that's the aspiration for that building is a hotel, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about later. And then just above that, to the sort of away from the river, you can see what is forming phase 1, which is a mixture of fundamentally we're looking to build a professional community. It's very much going to be around creativity, music at the core. And I'll talk you around the specifics in a minute, but fundamentally you can see as the site now has become a construction site, and it started with first phase was of the construction works was to get rid of about 10,000 pigeons, which we've done successfully, I think, and then to start looking at the roofs, getting the roofs all fixed. And you can imagine it's a big undertaking. Lots of work with national heritage, because these are very, very important buildings with a significant sort of cultural and heritage interest. So, our aspiration is to maintain as much of that integrity as we can. We want to preserve all of that. It's interesting, actually. Our London site is a 1990s sort of classic 1990s light industrial estate that isn't particularly attractive to look at from the outside. Whereas here we've got this opportunity to do something within buildings that are, simply stunning. So I think we have an opportunity to do something even more visually sort of impactful in Wakefield than our London offering. Here's another one of the site. What's interesting about this one is you see the sort of the importance of the proximity to the Hepworth and the amazing new Hepworth Garden. I was up 2 weeks ago, and the garden is really looking stunning. It's in full bloom at the moment, and again, it's something that's really important for us, to have an opportunity for our residents to be able to enjoy the garden and to have that sort of public realm that we don't actually have in London. Most of our space in London is car park space, as you can imagine. Space is it's a bit of a premium. So to have this stunning garden next door to us is really important, and as is the relationship with the Hepworth. Some more shots of where we're at now with the works. New roofs, lots of scaffolding. Where a lot of the brickwork now has been brought back to life, and we've put in these amazing new windows that I think really work beautifully. They're sort of they're making the buildings watertight, but still preserve the sort of the character. So we don't want to lose any of that amazing character. So the buildings are really starting to come good. And then this is a CGI of what the site's going to look like. It was certainly, not that we're not that far away now. Phase 1 is due to launch in Q1 next year, from January. So, we're well on our way to having what I think does look like a pretty spectacular campus. I use the word campus actually not because it's a university campus, but we feel that we call our London site a campus just because it's, rather than being one sort of monolithic building, we have lots of buildings with lots of different activity going on. So I tend to use the word campus from time to time. This is another CGI view from the main road that sort of shows what Tileyard North is going to look like. And I think it's going to bring some real energy to the area and excitement. And already I'm meeting people on site every couple of weeks when I come up, and you can really sense the impact that this project is having on the local area and the enthusiasm. And I think I haven't yet met anyone that doesn't feel very excited about what this opportunity is bringing to the region, which is it's what we're trying to do. It's all about creating opportunities, trying to create jobs, help businesses thrive and even form in the first place. So that's another view. This is a sort of an aerial shot just showing the sort of the proximity to Hepworth on the left, the garden in between, and then our complex, and then the river. It shows you what our riverfront, the hotel, the proposed hotel with the riverfront is going to look like. I think it's going to be pretty special. So we're very excited about that. This is these slides sort of tell you a little bit more about what Tallyard is. I think what we've built in London. I mean, just a real quick sort of. I have a dark past. I was actually in a band, hilariously, about 20 odd years ago now. We were lucky enough to be signed to Warner Music, and for about 2 years we sort of clung on by our fingernails to a pop career. We fluked a few hits, so I always like to think we were quite lucky. So I was one of those people that was very lucky to be on programs like Top of the Pops and Live and Kicky and CD UK and all those back in the sort of late 90s when there was a lot of music on television. And we were on those of the my mates still rip the piss out of me now 20 years later about my past, but I like to think it was actually quite relevant to what I do now, because it's interesting how many people I meet that remember the band I used to be in. I'll probably have to tell you, it was a band called Ultra. Please don't look it up. It's I'll lose it if I have any credibility. I'll instantly lose it if you do actually look us up on YouTube. But it did give me an amazing grounding, and actually, sort of jokes aside, it was what it allows me to do is have a very empathic conversation with creative people, because they don't, when I talk to them, they know that I'm not talking to them as a property guy. I'm a creative. I'm a musician. I'm still a partner in a music company. You know, it's and we are based in Tallyard actually. So there's an empathy, which I think is really important in anything anyone does, actually, to understand the world that your customer or your client is participating in. It allows us, I think, to create, hopefully to solve some of their problems and to create an environment within which they can hopefully thrive. So yeah, so this just gives us a couple of snapshots of what Tallyard London is. It's community is a word we use a lot. I often say that rather than us being a landlord and our clients being tenants, we're much more about providing services, and those services are community. It's connections to relevant, like-minded people that you may then end up collaborating with. So it's all the C's, very easy to remember. But the idea, I think that epitomizes what Tallyard is, more than we are a landlord with spaces and you rent them off us and pay us rent. That's part of it, and it's the core of what we do, I suppose. But I like to think that one of the things I often say to people that I'm talking to about coming into Tallyard, if we can't provide you with something with value beyond the space, and if you don't bring to us value beyond the rent check, then we're probably not right for each other. The idea is that hopefully we can provide you with a lot more benefit than just the space, and likewise you'll bring a lot more to us than just your rent, the rent that you pay. So it's those, so my obsession, I suppose, is when I talk to people, it's who are you, what do you do, what kind of a journey are you on, what sort of things potentially could I provide you that would help you on that journey. And it all sounds a little bit cheesy and cliche, but it is very much what we do. And I think it's what makes us slightly different to a lot of the other sort of space providers in the market. And hopefully it's going to be, certainly it's going to be at the centre of what we do in Wakefield. And hopefully it will allow us to build an equally exciting and successful community. And that community is very much a business community, but the business of creatives. Next slide. Yeah, so music studios. I've mentioned this a few times. We have over 130 music studios at Tallyard London now. We will phase one in Wakefield on the Wakefield Tallyard London site is I've just signed off on a scheme. One of our key buildings is going to have 25 music studios in it. We feel that they are very much at the core of what our brand represents. And these music studios are, you can see this picture of Tom was one of my first clients. This guy sitting at his desk here. It's not a massive studio. It's 15 square meters. Tom makes really important records in that studio. He also does music for TV and film. He does a lot of library music as well, but fundamentally he is I don't know if any of you have heard of Paul Hepworth. Paul Hepworth produces all of Adele's music. Tom is often sort of described as the next Paul Hepworth. I firmly believe that. When I met Tom as an early 20-year-old, it was very clear to me that he's a massively talented guy, and I was really keen to have him come into our community. He's one of our first clients, as I said. He was part of phase one in 2011. He's still very much with us, and I hope he'll be with us for many years to come. And I think that explains the kind of relationship we like to have with our community, with the members of our community, who I often have to hold back. I don't like using the word tenant. He is a tenant. He pays us rent to rent a space off of us, but he's much more than a tenant. He's a client, he's a resident, and an important part of our community. And then the studio on the right, it's interesting, I focus on Tom, but the one on the right, you might well have heard of the music that's come out of that. That was Mark Ronson's studio. We built that for Mark Ronson in 2014. One of the first tracks he recorded wrote and recorded in there was Uptown Funk. So that's one of our one of the biggest hits we've had out of Tallyard. And again, it does feel like it was very much a hit for Tallyard. It was a hit for Mark Ronson and a big hit for Bruno Mars, but it was also a hit for Tallyard, and very much put Mark and his space on the map. He's done many really incredible recordings in there since. He's now in LA. We lost Mark, so we couldn't compete with the weather, unfortunately. So he did actually end up moving to LA. He ended up keeping the studio for a year or so after that, but he was with us for 7 years. We've now got a business called Platoon in that studio who are making increasingly important and exciting music in that space. But it was built for Mark and built with Mark. So it's I think, an important space for us. Workspace, do I use the word office space? It doesn't feel to me that any of our residents within the workspace, I mean, a good 75–80% of the Tallyard real estate, and bearing in mind we're about 150,000 square feet, so 80% of that is workspace, office space, if you like, but they're not traditional offices. These are creative companies, whether they're record companies or gaming companies, guys that are running. We've got an interesting client that does voiceover work for the gaming industry. They record actors doing voiceover all day, every day. They have their space has 5 production studios, but also a large workspace. So they have the whole team in their workspace. But so we have a lot of workspace, but they are creative, really interesting, exciting creative companies. We don't have sort of vanilla non-creative businesses within Tallyard. That's just not what we do. We do have lawyers actually, but they're music lawyers, which is interesting. So they are a very relevant sort of component, business service, if you like, to our community. And actually, funny enough, they seem to represent a great number of our community. If anyone asks me, you have any good lawyers, I just point them to first floor of Unit 5 and Sound Advice of the company, and they look after anyone from Cat Stevens through to Chase and Status to Zane Lowe, and a number of Tallyard residents. What's the next slide? Education, really important to us. We run our own education business. We're very boutique. We're postgraduate rather than sort of early on. We want to sort of give opportunities to those that have made a conscious decision to build a career or a business in the creative sectors. We're very music centric with the education that we provide. But fundamentally, these are guys that are, a lot of our students actually are already in the business and just want to spend a year honing their skills, learning from those. Another key point with this is 90% of our courses are, of the content that's taught is taught by people based within our community. So these guys are they teachers? Well, they're knowledge sharers, if you like. They are working professionals that share their knowledge and experience and intel with our students to help our students gain qualifications. We run MA courses, so masters, fully accredited. We have two partner universities. One is Trinity St David Wales. The other one is Nottingham Trent. So the guys, our students, they spend a year on site building contacts, being taught by people in the business that they're looking to enter or further their careers in. And at the end of the year, they do get a piece of paper with an accredited master's qualification. But I always think that that's the sort of almost the icing on the cake. It's the year that they spend within the professional community that is, I think, gives us our USP, if you like. The reason I mention this is it's a small component part of what we do at Tallyard, but it's a really, really vital and important one. And it's one that we're going to be bringing to Wakefield. So from the beginning of phase 1, we will have a floor dedicated to Tallyard education, where we will be offering opportunities to people in the local and surrounding regions, an opportunity to come and be part of our community, to study, to learn, to gain a qualification, but also to be part of the community and build those contacts. Because hopefully these guys are going to become the next wave of professional residents and occupiers of the space of the pro spaces. Interestingly, we're 3-4 years old, I think, now in London, Tallyard education. We've got so many fantastic alumni success stories. We've got guys that have been on our songwriting course that have signed publishing deals, guys that have had cuts. We run camps as part of the course where we run songwriting camps where we put guys in a room, they write to brief. We've had students that have had successful cuts with really well-known artists. We do a lot of stuff for Sync as well. So if there's a TV or film production that wants music, they give us a brief. We then share that brief with and this is stuff we do in the real world too, by the way. This isn't just for the students. So these sort of writing camps are going on all day, every day across Tallyard in the professional environment. So students are getting cuts. We've got guys doing the music business course that are building businesses and getting placements and then getting hired by businesses within the community. So it's such an important entry point for the community. Food and beverage. You know, when you're on site for 15 to 18 hours a day, you need to eat. It's often important to have a break. And what we tend to find is that reason we have a slide for this. It's funny that so much of our business is done in our cafe. We run a cafe, restaurant, bar as what we call the beating heart of Tallyard. And it's where people meet each other. It's where the connections are made. It's where I have all my meetings. It's just a great way to interact with the community. So people by day, you know, when they close their door and they get down to business, they do that on their terms. But when they want a break, there's a good chance they will have a very interesting, meaningful conversation with someone that's like-minded. So again, this is going to form an important component part of our Tileyard North offering, and we're probably going to have one or two offerings. We're talking about a hotel as well, which I'll come to in a minute. So, but fundamentally, we will have our own on-site cafe restaurant. Events, another important component. It's a good way to get people together. We're not running events every day, but we curate our own events. We also allow our residents to run their own events and program their events into our spaces. The idea is it's just a good excuse to get people together, and it's where there's some of those introductions and those initial sort of relationships being built, then spawn really interesting conversations, and then these collaborations. The collaborations as well are from, I mean, I could pick a couple of really mainstream obvious ones. We have an artist, Sagala, that's based at Tallyard, but that had a very big hit with another artist, John Newman, also based at Tallyard. That came from having a beer after work at one of our events. They connected. I introduced them. The conversation went, we should work together. Within a week, they'd worked together, written a song together. That song ended up being a release for Sagala, and it was a #1 record. You know, so that's quite an exciting collaboration. But then we have all sorts where we've got guys that provide label services to artists. We have guys that are creative agencies that do artwork for creatives, that put social media campaigns for artists. We also have gaming businesses that need music for their games. So you get the idea. We're a dating agency more often than not, just marrying people together with the view that we hope they end up doing business. Hotel. This is something that we've been so passionate about, building a hotel on our London site. And for whatever reason, we just haven't managed to persuade our local authority that it's a good idea to give us planning consent to do it. Luckily, Wakefield Council are fantastic and really openly helping us and assisting us with this project. They're very much a partner. We have a massive aspiration to build a hotel. I think this is very much a personal sort of passion project of Paul, who owns Tallyard, who's my business partner. Paul really feels that Wakefield needs a great hotel. I think we all agree with him. I think we're coming into it with very open eyes. We also realise that Wakefield's a very different location to London, but I think we feel there's a real gap. There's a real opportunity to build something that is boutique, that's a bit more aspirational, but not ridiculously expensive. We know that there's a price point. So I think for us, this building on the side of the Calder would be the perfect space to build a really complementary sort of hotel and an F&B offer. It's a leisure kind of opportunity. We think we can tap into the Hepworth. We can tap into the community that we hope we're going to attract into the professional community into Tileyard North. So this is something that's very much at the centre of phase 2, and we're very determined to build this. So the people that I'm talking to in the area all seem to think that it's a great idea. So watch this space. But that's very much an aspiration as part of this project. Site connectivity, again, I think the idea is that we don't want to be a sort of a disparate location. We want to work with the Hepworth, we want to work with the local area and create something that's bigger than the sum of its parts. So I think, the relationship we have with Simon and his team in the Hepworth is one that's actually we've had for 5 years now. And I think without the Hepworth, this project wouldn't have been nearly as appealing to us. So I think it's certainly a very important partnership and component, and we want to work really closely with Simon and his team, and also with the local area, with the centre of Wakefield. I'm trying to meet everyone and anyone that I can in the region that's doing interesting stuff, that is interested in partnering with us. We're facilitators. It's a word I use all the time. What we want to try and do be the catalyst to facilitate great activity on our site. We want to create a community and a home for local talent. We want to build upon that and really nurture it. So that's a really important part. Yeah, one of our important key values, core values, if you like. Phase 2. So yeah, I've talked about phases. I mean, phase 1 fundamentally. If I go back to the previous slide, actually, phase 1 is very much this sort of this part of the site, and then phase 2 is the riverside, which incorporates the hotel, and also you can see these buildings here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but unfortunately, these buildings, the one on the river, I think is savable, but the one next to it is so dilapidated that we've looked at ways of trying to preserve it. And it just isn't going to be possible. So there's a plan for a new build, a really exciting new build on that part of the site, which is very much part of phase 2. And we're talking to the local authority into various. There's funding conversations. It's going to require some additional funding, but so far we're very, very confident that we can achieve that and obtain the funding required to build out phase 2. We're not looking at this as a single phase project. We want to go beyond phase 1. We want to roll out phase 2 for sure. We're committed to it from our side. So I hope, a bit garbled and a bit long-winded, but I hope that gives you a feel for what Tileyard North is all about, and what our aspirations are, and how we want to work together with all of you to bring something we hope is going to be really, really important to Wakefield and the surrounding areas.
Thank you, and I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say that we can't wait to see those doors open and come and explore the site. So moving on to our next speaker, I'd like to introduce you to Sam Scarpa. Sam is Wakefield's Tourism and Visitor Manager, and she's going to talk to us about our commitment to making Wakefield a destination where anybody coming to Yorkshire wouldn't want to miss. So over to you, Sam.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sam Scarpa, and I am the Tourism and Visitor Manager for Wakefield Council. Today, I'd like to share some of the work that the tourism team have been working on for the past few months, mainly to deliver a recovery plan for the tourism sector, who's been so badly hit by the pandemic. But mostly, I'd like to share some exciting developments that we hope will make Wakefield a better place, not only for visitors, but especially for residents. And in the context of this ambassador programme, my real aim today is to give you a whole host of information about where you can find exciting information about Wakefield that you can then share with your networks and beyond that. So firstly, what is it that we actually do? Well, we're strongly committed to establishing Wakefield as a visitor destination. We have a district that has so many incredible assets, and Darren earlier actually stole my thunder. I was going to tell you that we were the only place outside of London with 2 Art Fund Museum of the Year awards, but now you've heard it twice, so you won't forget it. And besides these cultural institutions of national importance, the sector also supports over 10% of enterprises in Wakefield. That's over 1,000 businesses within the tourism sector. And they've actually brought in over £500 million to the local economy in 2019. So it's my team's job to help make sure that we can come back to that and go well beyond that in the future. So as well as working with partners to capitalise on the district's incredible cultural USP, we're also here to celebrate the independents that make up the entire tourism value chain. When we talk tourism, we're also talking accommodation, bars, restaurants, transport, and of course, retail. And by rebuilding the visitor economy and encouraging residents to engage with our great offer, we'll maintain jobs, we'll hopefully create new ones, but mainly will enable the communities that we serve to make the most of the assets on our doorstep. So here's a little bit on what we've actually been doing. So really excitingly, after nearly a year of working on this, last week we relaunched the Experience Wakefield website. And that's the tourism website for the district, and it promotes ideas of what to see, where to stay, where to eat, and it also has a handy what's on guide so that you won't ever miss any of the events, exhibitions or concerts that are coming up. The website is very much aimed at both visitors from outside the district who are planning a trip to Wakefield, for example, or visiting family and friends, but it's also there for people like you, residents, who want inspiration for what to do. After a whole year of being at home, we've all forgotten a little bit, about the things we can do. So we want to encourage you to rediscover these. So many of our attractions in the district are free, especially for residents. And this year is really a perfect time to rediscover activities on your doorstep. So I really encourage you to have a look at the website. As part of the relaunch, our ambition was really to showcase the entire district and not only our cultural offer. So we worked really hard and brought on 81 new businesses on our business listings, and including 60 of those were food and drink venues. So if you're looking for inspiration for where to go for your next meal out, there's really no excuse anymore. Another really exciting feature of the new website is the guide section. We've basically commissioned residents and people who love Wakefield to tell us about what the district has to offer. The result is over 30 guides as it stands, on subjects ranging from art and heritage, or more, different things like places to go for a walk if you have a buggy. These guides are going to be constantly updated, and we're always looking for new digital editors, which is what we call the people who write these guides. So as ambassadors, if you have a nice story to tell, if it's an event that you want to review, or even a monthly feature, we're always looking for new digital editors. So please do get in touch. Continuing down the kind of inspiration theme, another thing that we've done is that we've recently commissioned a new district map, which was designed by a great local company. And as you can see, it very much showcases what the district has to offer and kind of gives you an idea of what an itinerary across the district could look like. This week, we're using these maps to install new visitor information signs across the city centre. So these will be shortly available for you to see in Wakefield. And we're also working on getting them installed throughout the district later this year. Another thing that my team has been working on, I hope you all remember last year we published the first edition of a magazine called Doorstep Discoveries, and that was a bit of a weird moment in time. We were all during lockdown, and this was delivered to all people in the Wakefield district. It was so well received that we've decided that it's going to be published from now on 3 times a year. It won't be distributed to people's homes, but there will be hubs available, and I'll show you where soon. The next edition that you're getting a preview of right now will be distributed in just a couple of weeks in June. As you can see, it's been place branded, and each edition is designed by a different artist. Ideally, we look for people within the district, like Shauna Doonan for this one. Each edition will focus on a different theme. This one will be on the environment and sustainability. It's really packed with ideas for people of all ages, really, be it things to do at home or things to explore in the district. And I really encourage you to grab a copy when you can. We've also been working with partners across the district to develop mini visitor hubs. So you can see that the partner stands there on the left. The idea is to introduce these across the district so that people can access that same map, get an idea of what their itinerary can look like. But they'll also have holders where you can grab your copy of Doorstep Discoveries, and in time later this year we'll also do some visitor guides and some printed versions of the map, so you can always have it with you. On the map on the right there, you can see where you'll be able to pick up your copy of Doorstep Discoveries. So that's the hubs that we have throughout the district. You can find the actual locations on our website, Experience Wakefield, and there'll also be a digital version of the newspaper available on Experience Wakefield as well. Finally, and there's really so much more that I'd like to share with you, but I had to pick a few things. So I'll finish with 3 final initiatives that we'll be running this summer. Firstly, at the top there on the left, you can see that we'll be offering small business grants to businesses who wish to join a membership, business support membership affiliation. It's important to note that a huge majority of the tourism businesses in the district actually employ less than 10 people. And as such, it's really difficult to have someone who supports your PR, your marketing, your HR, your legal needs. So we thought that this would be a good way to help the recovery by giving these businesses access to these support networks. If anyone would be interested in applying for a grant, or if you know businesses that could benefit from this, then you can find our contact information on Experience Wakefield, and these are available from now. We'll also be supporting, you can see there on the right, the events team. We have an incredible programme this summer of events taking place throughout the district. You can find, of course, all the information on Experience Wakefield, and I really encourage you to have a look at what's coming up, because there's really a lot to do. And finally, we'll also be working on an advertising and a PR campaign that will be for print advertising, some outdoor advertising, and some digital stuff as well. A couple of examples there. So hopefully we'll be shouting about all the amazing things that you can do in the Wakefield district. And I really hope that you can join us in doing that, and that I've given you a few ideas of where to find some information, not only for you, but to share with your networks as well. If you ever want to have a chat about tourism or want to get involved in any of our initiatives, our contact information is on the website, and I really encourage you to have a look because the team has worked really hard. Thank you so much. Over to you, Lucy.
Thanks, Sam. It's great to see and hear that tourism in Wakefield is in such good hands. So finally, with our last 5 minutes, I'd just like to hand you over to the chair of the Place Board, Andrew Weaver, who is somebody who has really passionately helped us and supported us with our placemaking activities and continues to do so. So over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Lucy, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for giving up your valuable time today and attending. We're really grateful for your support. I'd briefly like to add a few comments about the housing sector and add a little bit of weight to what's been said before, but just what fantastic presentations. And you know, when you look at how important Tileyard North's going to be, building on the Hepworth as a catalyst for change, it's outstanding. And I know we've run over, but when we talk about people and passion, we've seen that in abundance today. It could be an incredible platform to build on some of these key themes. I was quite interested. I penned a note about, you know, a hit for Mark Ronson was a hit for Tallyard. Can you imagine if a hit for a young person yet to pen his first song is a hit for Tileyard North, but a hit for Wakefield? Can you? I mean, I've grown up with music scenes in Hull and in Bristol and obviously Manchester and London and Liverpool, but can you imagine a nascent music scene that's yet to be unearthed in Wakefield? Well, that's what the UK does well. It does music, it does comedy, it's got zest and passion, it's got cultural difference in every street corner. Can you imagine if we created our music scene? What a catalyst that might be. So we've run over, but I kind of think on a dreary Wednesday morning, let's have a bit of passion. So thanks too for Sam. I mean, the Experience Wakefield website, it's not just a website. Websites are no longer just websites, are they? They're going to be intrinsic to connecting events and people together. And I love the digital editors. You know, the idea that we create our own content by people that love it. There's nothing more genuine than that. And there's a whole host of youth coming through that are good at editing and writing, you know, so they'll have an authentic voice. Making reasons to stay easy. So put those two presentations together and you've got something very exciting. I just want to say a few things from a house building perspective very quickly that probably add a little bit of weight to the underlying strength that we've seen of Wakefield and its future. You know, as a house builder, you have choices. You have choices where you build, what you build, and for whom you build. And now over the last decade, we've built a number of developments across Wakefield and its districts. And I was totting up the number of homes that we've built, and we've built 1,200 homes in the last decade across Wakefield. And half of that, well, that early stage is coming out of a recession. And then the latter stage has been through a kind of bumpy ride through the referendum, Brexit, and a pandemic. We've got another 250 actually in build at the moment on 2 sites that take us to 1,500 homes. That's families and individuals and couples. And so kind of it's testament to the fact that it's the highest concentration of homes anywhere that we build in Yorkshire and the East Midlands. And they perform well. These sites perform well. And we go back and back and back because of the diversity of character within the Wakefield districts. You know, there's this a perfect blend that we've talked about of affordability, outstanding connectivity that's at the heart of the themes. And it opens up employment opportunities, leisure pursuits, And you combine that with green space and fresh air, gosh, aren't we in need of that? And you put that quirky, creative gene that we've talked about earlier all together into the mix, and it makes Wakefield a really exciting place to be. You know, I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that Wakefield home buyers have an exceptional appetite for building a future for themselves and their families, and that this desire to put roots down is as strong as anywhere we've ever seen. So, having been closely invested in and that's a loaded word, being invested, you know, deeply invested in Wakefield District for personally for about 15 years. I look at the homes we build, but you're actually supporting people at really key life-changing moments and the decisions they make, and they've got choice as well. And inevitably you build genuine connections and an affinity with the place and the people. So when I was asked to be the chairman of the place board, you know, I didn't play it really cool. I think I said yes in about 5 seconds. And what was behind that was making that bond even stronger, because I really want to find out what makes it tick. I want to really build on that for the future with a collection of people that really want to go somewhere with it. And you know, last year was obviously really tough to set up something like this. You know, let's not beat about the bush. You know, we're straight talking people. You know, setting up a place board was tough in the middle of a pandemic. You know, setting up new slogans, getting advertising, getting things out there was difficult. But our place story will flourish, and it's dependent absolutely on physical environments. And creating physical environments. We've just seen that with these presentations. For people with common interests, you can't force people in this day and age to do things. You've got to create the right context. And if we create those right physical environments for people with common interests and make it simple and easy for those common interests to flourish and for people to come together, we've just got to give people a platform for positive, life-enhancing experiences. And the pandemic and the lockdowns made that pretty much impossible in the middle part of last year. But what has come out of last year was we met some brilliant people. The ones that wanted to stick around, stuck around. In adversity, that's always the way. And that galvanizing spirit that's come out of it is absolutely determined to use the place brand to spread those good news stories, emerge out and recover from the hardship that the pandemic's undoubtedly caused. And it's made us reevaluate our lives. So much we've taken for granted has been denied us. Access to loved ones, how and where we work-life balance, mental health and well-being, all common themes for ourselves that we're asking questions about. But one thing it's done that's so central to this place work and initiative is that we've never been more obviously and acutely aware of the reliance that we have on each other. Nothing falls into our lap. We've got to work at it. And what it's done is it sort of served to re-emphasize the importance of face-to-face contact and how important from that face-to-face contact you build then on face-to-face contact with your neighbor, with your communities. And hasn't communities just suddenly reinvigorated themselves through the pandemic because everyone's realized how precious they are? And from that precious spirit, what comes? A real sense of pride and belonging. So you might say, in many ways, the pandemic and the launch was so badly timed. I actually think it's been a shot in the arm for people to actually realize what opportunities are out there to reinvigorate community and belonging. In short, there's never been a greater need or opportunity to get closer and to work together. The Ambassador Programme lies right at the heart of this place work. And the stories, there's a couple that we've heard today, and your stories, this is your opportunity. Will be told regularly, not collected up and scratching around before presentation days. It's got to be as they arise from organizations big and small, from every sector. And you know, that's going to be fundamental to its success. It's not a marketing slogan-based approach. It's got to be unearthed from within. There's no doubt about it, and we're seeing it, that there's emerging out of the last year has been a greater sense of shared purpose. And Yorkshire does, and Wakefield does shared purpose really well. You know, when the chips are down, we galvanise ourselves well. And an understanding, I think people are really warming up to the idea that acting in isolation or thinking that your business sector or your troubles are siloed, you know, it's no longer enough. We'll only get where we want to go if we work together. So whilst the Ambassador Programme will look at people and businesses that have been instrumental in creating the story thus far, in other words, building on the history, that's important. But I think probably more important is attracting the like-minded people that are going to, from the district, that are going to be keen to explore, not with the answers, but just explore and seize this really powerful moment and work together collaboratively to shape its future. I know we've run over. I know Lucy will be looking at me saying, let's get back to it. But thanks ever so much for attending today. We genuinely appreciate it, and we look forward and hopefully see you again very soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. And all that leaves me to say now is a huge thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Wakefield Ambassador Programme, and how excited we all are for the future of this team. As I said earlier, search Wakefield Ambassadors on LinkedIn and Twitter. Continue to join the journey and look out for emails in your inbox. Thank you.